Thanks, Michelle.
Good evening, everyone.
Alan,
What's that?
you've got to beat that.
Yeah, it's pretty good beat. Michelle was getting this project ready today, the one I'm going to show. She's been pretty busy. She got up at 5 this morning and being on site. So she had a lot on her mind today, so that's why she's a bit flustered. But anyway, good evening, everybody. The project is our first subdivision deal. And up to this point, we've been 100% renovators. So last year we did 7 projects. The benefit of being doing renovation projects is, you know, you get the cash flow. It's quick. Like that last deal was 10 weeks, and it's good for living. But we had a meeting with Nguyen late last year, and he said if you want to bump the profit up, you've got to start introducing some subdivision deals into your strategy. So we started looking, and we come across this one. This one's in Sunnybank Hills. How we found this, I was at an open inspection one day with an agent, and I had a look through this house, and she mentioned that there's another property that I should be looking at, and it's going to auction. I said, well, yeah, right, I'll put that to the bottom of the list. And about a week later, I was at work, and I said, I'd better have a look at this deal. And I looked at the site. I said, oh, gee, that's interesting, but it's an auction. So anyway, I rang the agent up, and I said, oh, well, can I put a pre-auction offer in? And she said, yeah, no worries, put one in. And where's the pointer? The red one? Yeah, so I looked at it. I said, well, there's a tennis court there, and there's a house on a 1284 metre lot. I said, we'll make it turn into a battle axe. So I put an offer in for $655, because that's what it'll work at. And she said, oh no, they're looking closer to 7. I said, all right. Well, I went back and done the numbers again, and I put in $685, and the owners took it. So I said, oh, that's good. So that's the plan. That's the current detailed survey. You see that's broken up into a 632 lot and a 415. So basically we acquired it through a motivated seller. There was basically 2 girls that inherited the house, living overseas, didn't want the headache, because the house is original. It's an 89 house, not a dollar spent on it, and they just wanted it gone, so they accepted it. And I structured the contract so that the unconditional period would end just before the auction. So if we pulled out, they could still go ahead with it. So I gave them a way out. Anyway, it worked out. So acquisition was a pre-auction offer and had motivated sellers. It was a really good spot. There's the spot there in the red circle. That's Sunnybank Hills Shopping Centre in Cullenvale. So it's a bus stop just down the road. This is the major bus stop on Mains Road that goes into the city, so it's a really good spot. The good points, the unimproved site value is 800, and we picked it up at 675. I'll explain in a minute why. So that was a good buy. It was well located, close to the shops, free block of land. And the large home with a pool and a multi-family potential, because it's a 4 and 3, but downstairs is also a big area that we can turn into a 5-bed. That's what we've done. Issues to solve: the subdivision is it's a fairly high retaining wall, and the council wouldn't let us put the boundary right on top of the retaining wall. We had to put it one side or the other. If I go back to this, you see the house is about 450 millimetres away from the boundary, from the retaining wall. So that would have meant I would have to cut the house, maybe take a metre off the house. So I said, well, let's put the boundary on the tennis court. So anyway, issues to solve. There's some services that we had to relocate. The small frontage meant that maybe the rear block would decrease in value because it was becoming a rear. The house reno, everything needed upgrading, the whole lot. Paint, floors, the kitchen, baths, everything. It had a green pearl, trees falling in it and leaves. Some things we haven't done before, so this one we haven't rendered before, we haven't put vinyl floors in, and there's a few other things, but not too risky. Project started the day after Valentine's Day. We had a project start time, budget time of 6 weeks and an 8 to 10 month subdivision on the market at the end of March, which is now. Kitchen, there's the before, the kitchen and after. That's not long ago. There's some better photos now, but that's the kitchen. Bathrooms are shot, some cracked tiles and 80s type tiles. See, it needed a fair bit of facelift. It's all archways and fair bit of repair work done. And there's a big one we didn't do before. Like I was saying earlier, we haven't done these sort of things before. Was this to cut these bricks? We had to come up with an idea to get rid of that ugly design on the balcony. Well, we did that quite easy. We got the right guys involved and we cut it, dropped all the bricks on the ground. That's before and after. I just threw a couple of photos in here to show you different. We haven't got any good photos yet. So the estimated numbers, so 674, I said 685 originally. I knocked them down 11 grand for the house. There was a couple of other issues. So we went down 11, they agreed to it. 114,000, that's actually actual of 111 because we finalised the figures yesterday. Subdivision costs 149, entry exit 74, holding 20, total expenses 1,031, expected sale, this is an older Prezzo for some reason, 1.2 for a sale. Expected net profit. So that 1.2, I've got an updated figures. I expect to sell the house for high 7, and for high 4s. So 1.25 perhaps, and between 170 and 200,000. The reno's finished. The pictures go on the website on Thursday, so we'll have our first open on Saturday. Mistake. The owners were overseas, so I had lots of trouble contacting them. And a mistake I made was I didn't put in the contract what I really wanted. So trying to get hold of them on Snapchat, and it wasn't the way to go. So I learned a good, valuable lesson. Get your contract right at the start, because what we want to do is also change the entity in that period. Sign a deed of rescission, crash that contract and put a new owner on. It all worked out in the end, but we were just not going to do that again. So more thought into building the contract properly when you start off. The mistake too is, I didn't want to put this one up, but anyway, neighbours caused more delays, unnecessary delays. It was a fair call. They were a bit concerned that the rear neighbours, that there was, if we put a house on the block, that's going to stop the flow of water from their house when they get a big downpour. So they put a public submission which pulled us up for another 3 or 4 weeks, added another $6,000, $7,000 to our costs. So anyway, one of the lessons is probably you don't list it too early, but I think it probably better way is to just go walk around to the neighbours and explain what you're doing. They probably wouldn't have, well, they might have still done it, but they would have met us and mightn't have been so abrupt about it in the long run. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. Have we got any questions?
A round of applause first for Alan. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Good job. Hey, We're a little bit over time, but I'm happy to take a couple of questions for
Yeah.
Alan or Michelle. Does anyone want to ask a question? Oh, I'm shy. You must have nailed it, mate. Yeah, back there. Rod, hang on, I'll just bring the mic, mate. Hang on. Recording.
Yeah, hi Alan.
Yeah.
What was the zoning on that one?
Low density.
Low density. Okay.
Yeah.
And you got the vacant lot at 400 and what was the
500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over 450, so it's a standard lot. So really done a 14 by 20, but they relaxed. Was we had the frontage was about 14 metres, so they let it go through. It was a risk smart process. So yeah.
Anyone else? Take one more. Yeah, Matt. You take one.
Hey Alan, Matt Punter, how you going?
G'day, mate. Yeah.
Just a quick question, just to get the learnings out of it. Why do you think no one saw that? Because it's a pretty obvious deal to look at it, but no one looked at it with development eyes. Is that what you think? Or?
Maybe. Perhaps the auction might have scared off some people because I've spoken to quite a few people and some said that they've seen it and they didn't do anything about it, probably because of the auction.
It was also your thought as well that you put it to the bottom of the list because it was going to auction.
Yeah, that's right. And that auction worked. And I think designing the contract so it was favourable for them if we pulled out anyway. So I just sort of gave them two options.
So I guess a good lesson out of that is don't assume putting your offer anyway. Good one. Well done, mate.
Good stuff, mate. Any other questions? Good question, Matt, too. Yeah.
Sorry. Probably need it. Down the back, yeah.
I just noticed your subdivision costs. Did you have anything out of the ordinary in regards to the civil, or was it all just fronting the site?
Yeah, I didn't. That's a good question. I didn't mention that the house, the services for the house goes through the tennis court. So we got to move all them.
And that was a domestic. You had to domestically move the. It was an operational works that you still had to do to get. Were you moving a main sewer line as such, or?
Yeah, the sewer line for the house goes underneath that concrete wall through the tennis court. So we've got to move all that, including the power, the water, the sewer, the stormwater. Okay. And so that means lifting the driveway, which is another big cost. Okay. Yeah, so that elevates the cost a little bit. And underground power in that area, so 15 grand.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry, when you structure to sell, you decided to sell the land first and then the house, or do you sell them? Do you sell the house first and then the land? What works best?
Well, this one, what we did, I'll tell you what we did and what other people would have done. We put this house on the market and listed it with the view of getting some interest, get it on paper, and so we could firm our numbers up, and then we renovate, put that on the market, and so we might have gotten an offer for their land and then sort of move like that. But probably the better option would have done was put the land on the market, but through other channels. So perhaps not listed on the website, like on realestate.com. Yeah, get it out that way. Still do what we did. Now we want to market this house with a DA, because we've got the DA now, and try and sell the whole lot. So we don't have to go through the process of ripping all the services up, and because that's still a good buy for somebody that wants to build next door. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I might wrap up there.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. But round of applause for Alan and Michelle. Thank you very much, guys. Well done, mate. Well done, Michelle.